back to Our First Century, a podcast celebrating the first 100 years of TA Loving Company.
I'm Ty Edmondson, CEO of TA Loving Company.
And I'm Krista Davenport, Vice President of People and Culture. Today, we're closing out this special 12-part series while we start looking ahead and envisioning what the next 100 years holds for TA Loving Company.
To help us do that, we're joined by leaders from across our business units. David Philyaw, President of Building, Mason Kenyon, Vice President of Pipeline Utilities Incorporated, Jason Hill, President of Civil Conveyance Systems, Charlie Fuller, President of Civil Infrastructure, Steve Bryan, representing the ownership of TA Loving Company, and a very special interview with me and Krista to wrap up this episode.
This is episode 12, Transitioning to the Next 100 Years. Let's dive in.
David, you're in the role of being our business unit leader. You've been with us on podcast in the past, but tell us a little bit about your journey to this role.
So I've been here going on 22 years now, and getting here was a little bit of a challenge. I started off out of college with a competitor of ours in Raleigh, and worked with them in Raleigh, in Newport News, and Orlando. And my conversations with TA Loving started when I was in Virginia. So the company TA Loving was building Outer Banks Hospital, and met Mike out there. That was the first time I met Mike, and we talked literally for 3 years. So I was in Virginia, didn't want to live in Newport News, got engaged, and was looking for a way back down here, and that's how he and I started talking. And the timing didn't work for 2.5, 3 years. I came back to Raleigh. The next time he and I talked, I was on the interstate in Orlando. And then when he finally got me to change what I was doing, we'd just gotten home with our firstborn daughter. So I was working in Greensboro. So he and I talked for a long time, and the company had just picked up the baseball stadium in Greenville. And I was on a project that wasn't a whole lot of fun, and moving back down here east where I was from was something I sort of wanted to do. So I surprised my wife and told her I was moving. She didn't move to begin with. So she was teaching, and she finished her school year in Chatham County, and I lived in a hotel out here on 70. Not one of the nicest hotels in the world, but I stayed in that for about 3 months, and started driving to Greenville pretty much every day, and ran that project from that site. And I guess you can say the rest is history, but it was 22 years ago. So a lot of athletics projects, a lot of healthcare projects in between there.
All right, so you just told us about your first project. What's a standout project over those 22 years?
Oh, man, that'd be a long list. Certainly the athletic stuff is fun just because it gets a lot of attention that other things don't. But the hospital in Clayton is sort of a signature project, not just for me, but for everybody that worked up there. We've probably cycled, I would guess, somewhere on the order of 35 people through there over the years working for that owner. And we're getting ready to go back again. So that's one of the sort of signature projects and clients for us. But to pick one out for me, it would be hard to do. But a lot of the hospital projects, a lot of the healthcare related stuff. Obviously, working at East Carolina, where I went to school, is fun. You get to say you worked on something, for your alma mater. So it'd be hard to pick. It's probably more fun watching the people, do something than saying I did something. I've always struggled with that, being able to say, I did build this or build that. It was always a we thing for me.
It really is. The list is long on the memorable projects, and how impressive they are.
Yeah,
it's a long, long list.
Yeah.
So we heard about your history briefly, and you did a podcast with us previously on writing the book to celebrate our 100 years. So we're going to switch gears a little bit and start thinking forward. What are your goals, hopes, wishes, dreams for the next 100 years?
If you simplify it, I think it's just to be better than we are right now. Whatever better is, doesn't need to mean bigger. I think that will come sort of naturally just with the inflation of projects. Things we were building a few years ago that were $30 million are now $50 million. So the numbers will keep going up. It doesn't mean we'll be working in in a dozen other places, but I think that will happen. Eastern North Carolina is great, and I love it, but there's not enough big projects to keep the numbers, and the people busy either.
Mm-hmm.
So we're either going to be going back to places we've worked before or going to places we haven't worked yet. So, but better. I mean, I would just sum it up as just a little bit better than, today, a little bit better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ongoing baby steps.
Yeah. Just small corrections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of tie that to the next question. Our mission's operational excellence, and then you kind of touched on it getting better and better as we progress. What does that mean? What does that look like for us as we move forward?
Operational excellence. We've made changes, over the 21 or 2 years I've been here that are noticeable, and we've never really had to, switch course 180 degrees. It's always been. We've been a little bit slower on the technology stuff, which we've let other people make mistakes with, and pick it up a little bit later in the wave of that kind of thing. And the same thing I think we could probably say for process and people. We develop things a little bit slower, but in the end, it works out for us. Everybody that has coached people from us knows that when they get a project manager, they're a real project manager. They're a superintendent. It's not somebody was stuck in a position because we had to do it. We develop people over time, and I think we do the same thing with process. We don't just jump on something because it seems like the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Purposeful.
Very, very purposeful.
Yeah.
I think the company's always been that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on technology. How do you see technology impacting the industry over the next 10 to 20 years?
Yeah. It's certainly not going to slow down. We've got a committee within the building group that's sort of focused on, not entirely on AI, but that's certainly part of their charge is to look at things that are AI related. We've got AI software in pre-construction now that's shortening up the takeoff process. It doesn't eliminate putting human eyes and hands on it, but it certainly frees those guys up to do other things. So they're working on the AI things. The other part of that committee is, just innovation period. So it could just be process improvement, something that takes 10 steps to figure out how to do it in 9. But back to your question about technology in the industry, it's going to keep growing. But it's like I've told everybody here before, we still got to be able to estimate and schedule and process a pay app without software. So technology is great, but it still takes, a brain and, a set of eyes to make things happen. So it's just, I'm hoping there's a nice balance. I don't want to see technology take over what we do, but we certainly have to embrace it.
Yeah, and our business is a business where people have to show up and do things on the ground too. So you got the whole process piece, but then somebody's got to show up and move some dirt or pour some concrete or
that's right,
or whatever the example is.
Well, you just talked about technology challenges and also innovation in the group that you have working together. What other kinds of challenges or innovations do you see the building business unit tackling as we go into the next 100 years?
Ty and I've talked about this before. I think the future is going to get harder in terms of people. The generation that believes you're going to stay somewhere and work all your career, or maybe you're going to jump once or twice and go somewhere. I think that's probably over with for the most part. I mean, not for everybody, because we've got thankfully we got a lot of people that like being here and want to be here for a long time. But college graduates today, I mean, if you tell them their next project's in Wilmington and they live in Raleigh, they don't have to go to Wilmington.
Mm-hmm.
They can switch careers or switch companies and stay where they're at. And most of them are in apartments and they don't have a lot of commitment. So if they don't want to move, they're not moving. But I think that's the biggest challenge for us going forward from our company perspective is just attracting and retaining people. And then you've got the same problem when you step that down, or not step it down, but when you look at the trade partners. I mean, y'all have seen the statistics. There's 7 people leaving and 1 guy coming in behind him. So who's going to do the work? I watched, speaking of podcasts, there was a guy he was a tech guy, big time tech guy, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody doing the interview said, "What do you think the next tech thing is?" He said, "It's not." He said, "It's plumbers and electricians." He said, "That's the next millionaires."
Yeah,
and I believe him. I mean,
yeah, no, I agree.
And that's really important too when we think about career fairs, particularly high school career fairs. I think there's a misconception that you cannot make a good living working in construction, that you need the office job. But really, if you put the numbers side by side, superintendents are making similarly to what project managers are making. So people don't need to necessarily focus on the office side. If they are interested in construction and they like working outside, they can go and work on that superintendent side and have just as successful of a career as the project management side.
Or more so. I mean, it's been that way really my entire career, 27, 8 years out of school. It's always been, there were superintendents that were, drawing as large or larger paychecks than anybody. I mean, because that's who the owner sees every day. That's who's getting the work done in the field. So, but then you got the, people actually putting things together with their hands. I mean, there's kids around here in Greenville that are debt free, maybe some college education, but they're making $85,000, $100,000 a year. And they come home dirty, but they're happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure.
A lot of opportunity in this field. How do you expect healthcare, education, athletic facilities, and life science construction needs to evolve? And how will TA Loving Company be ready to meet those demands?
So I think some of the larger projects that we've sort of grown accustomed to over the last few years, those are going to not go away, but will likely be fewer and further between. If you take a project like the Cancer Center in Greenville, I mean, that campus serves 32 counties. They don't need another 400,000 square foot cancer center, but they'll need to renovate what they've got in a period of years soon. You take that across all the markets we're in, whether it's athletics or higher ed or healthcare, or a few others, the big, marquee projects are going to get built, and then owners are going to start fixing what they've got. There's a lot of pent-up demand for, renovations. So I see our project size maybe not getting smaller overall, but the number of projects we've got underway at one time increasing because they're smaller in number and shorter in duration too.
Yeah. We did a podcast a while back, and we had a designer that it was working with us on a school, and it was interesting hearing her talk about the science that goes into how these schools are being built now, and the intentionality, if you will, of how they set the schools up to be multifunctional, and it was very, very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of effort goes into, I guess you can say, the psychology of what the building is.
Yeah,
making it a place where people actually want to show up and learn something.
Yeah.
I mean, as a former educator, I had not even thought about that. So it was really interesting to hear her talk about that psychological, the research, the forward thinking about how best to engage all different types of learners.
Yeah, I mean, we've built, a few dozen schools now, and none of them are the red brick building that I went to school in.
Right.
I mean, these things are spaceships, for lack of a better description.
Looking forward, what's your vision for TA Loving Company 100 years from now?
Well, I won't be here to see it, so if I'm in 100 years, I mean, I hate to go back to what I said earlier, but I think it's the same sort of setup. You just want it to be better, and you want it to still be here. I mean, I think I had somebody ask me a long time ago before we got to 100. They said, "Well, what's the plan?" Or is it get to 100 and pull the shutters closed and say we made it to 100? I was like, no, I think everybody thinks there's going to be another 100. And it'll be a different group of people, and they'll be better than we are at it, and they'll be successful in places we haven't been yet. And if I look at it that way, it's exciting. Kind of hate that I won't be here to see it all.
I do want to remind you that you did say you thought you would be here at 125.
Well, I probably will. I got 2 girls in college, so the bills don't slow down for me for a period of time. So I would be, what would I be? I'd be 75. So that's doable. Genetics probably won't get me to 100, so. But I can make 75, I think.
And I agree. I mean, it's about making it better. And then I think, what I think about TA Loving Company is just providing opportunity, how it's always been there to do that. Yeah. And that's really a foundational piece of this company. So, and I agree with what you said. We want to be providing opportunity for folks 100 years from now.
Yeah.
So the building business unit has had a lot of growth over the last few years. We've talked about the different types of markets, the different areas, and potentially growing to meet the need, but not growing just to grow. What else do you want people to know about the future of the building business unit?
I mean, I think we've got a great reputation. The company in general obviously has a great reputation. We, in the building business, the stuff that you see above ground, it's a little bit easier to see what we do. So for people out in the public to sort of know what we're doing, a lot of them focus on the buildings because they're so visible. But I mean, taking the whole company into consideration, I'm excited about everything we do. I mean, my wife and children know that we're not just a building company. They know we do bridges and they know we do water and sewer infrastructure. So I always make a point to make sure everybody knows that. We met with some folks at Wake Tech this morning and got sort of the same, not maybe the same question, but the question about, tell us a little bit about the company. And I always make a point to make sure they understand we're not just a one-trick pony. I mean, we're sort of a unicorn in the world of construction. There's not many businesses built like ours, and a lot of owners like the fact that we have, a self-performing side of the business that can solve another set of unique problems that they might have. But in terms of, what I want the world to know about the building business unit is we have grown, to your comment. We're probably double in size of payroll and people. The footprint's gotten a little bit bigger, but not much so. I mean, we're not really out there on the far edges of where we worked before. Still tackling the same core markets. We pick up a sort of a unique project every now and then, like we've got over in Kinston at the Trans Park. I put those sort of in the bucket of sort of like the Haley's Comet projects. They come around every now and then, and if we're lucky enough to get one of them, we'll ride it, and we know that's not coming back around again, so we have to look for another one somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about just the impact this company has. I mean, to facilitate the growth, to make the quality of life what it is in this area, and just the great opportunities that are here, and in all the areas we work in. So it's really incredible.
Yeah, I don't think there's really not anything that we do that doesn't have some sort of longer term impact than. And there's nothing wrong with the retail construction world or smaller projects, but those things are meant to be built and torn down and replaced every few years. And pretty much everything we do is, whether it's infrastructure or buildings, it's a lifetime. It's 50 years or more is what people expect out of it. So most of everything we built is still out there for everybody to go see.
Yeah.
And some things we've torn down that we built, we've replaced it with a new building, which is unique in our world.
Do you like that process, or is it hard to tear down your work? Would you rather add on or tear down?
I don't know that it's ever bothered me to renovate something we built and replace it with something newer and better. So I can't say that that's ever been a hang up for me or any of the folks that work in the building group. It's fun to be able to go back to somewhere you've worked before for the same client 60, 70 years later and take a building down or not even take a whole building down, just renovate it and put something new in it. There's not many of our competition that has been around long enough to do that.
Yeah, that's what I think about when you were talking about it. It stood the test of time, both the building and the company.
We interviewed for a military project of all things. This has been like 15 years ago. And the guy with the Corps asked us about our military experience, and I didn't answer the question. I can't remember if Sam or Mike answered it, but I think Sam was there. And he said, well, tell me what you did at Fort Bragg. And the answer, he said, all of it. He said, where do you want me to start? He said, everything that you had up until like 1955. I mean, that's another one of those things that, you think about it, and there's not many companies around like that. So I'm proud of it. I think everybody else is too.
No, it's incredible.
Well, thank you, David, for talking to us about the next 100 years. We've done a lot of celebrating and looking back, and it's really exciting now to start looking forward.
A lot of fun. Yep. Thank you.
It has been fun. And the future is bright. So,
agree.
Absolutely.
Mason, you are currently a vice president of TA Loving Company, leading the Pipeline Utilities Incorporated business unit. Tell us about your journey to this role.
How much time we have, Ty?
All the time you need.
It started, I was an owner's rep for Duke University and met TA Loving Company on the Yo Football Center. So that's where my first interaction with TA Loving began at. I don't even know that you knew that.
We did talk about that before.
So met Ned Hart there and a few other folks. And I knew at that time that I didn't want to stay as an owner's rep, but I wouldn't trade what I learned there for anything because I learned a lot. So I actually came to work for T11 for a while, and the location with my parents drove me to needing to be closer to home. But stayed in the general contractor realm for a long time, and built some schools, K through 12, did some stuff on university campuses, and my first utility project was actually at RDU Airport. Realized that having less subs and trusted subs really did intrigue me a lot. And on utility work, you got to kind of think outside the box and be ready for anything because you don't know what's underground. So Pipeline Utilities was my main sub on that project, so I developed a relationship with them there. And then that continued on at the steam tunnel project at UNC Chapel Hill from 2009 to 2012. So that was also a major utility project, and Pipeline was our main sub on that, and that strengthened my relationship with Pipeline Utilities. We began talking, and it took a couple years, but I ended up coming to Pipeline in 2015. So that's kind of how I got to Pipeline Utilities. Moved into the president role at Pipeline Utilities, and were able to kind of help them figure out a transition strategy and work with Utah, as you know, to help transition the company over in January of 2023 from ownership by Johnny and David to T11 ownership. So that kind of lays the groundwork of how we got here. So it was a lot of work, but it was very well worth it.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear everyone's story, but yours is especially interesting because you had early interaction with TA11 Company, left for some time, and then now you're back and doing great things for the company.
It was 20 years, Ty.
Yeah,
almost to the day.
Yeah. Good story.
Yep.
So mergers and acquisitions are always bumpy, and I know it was a little bit of a wild ride for a while. But today, what do you enjoy most of being part of TA11 Company?
It was a hard ride. I think the biggest benefit for Pipeline is TA11 allowed the Pipeline brand to continue. Mm-hmm. We talk about family-oriented companies, and Pipeline was that, and it's the same feel here at TA11 Company. It took a good year and a half to 2 years, and a lot of it change is tough for a lot of people. I care about our employees very much. I'm not important. The guys that are in the ditch putting the pipe together every day are the important ones. We're just setting the stage for them to be able to have those opportunities.
Yeah, we're making their jobs hopefully easier.
Correct. And I mean, our job is to make sure we're getting work for them that can be profitable so that we can all make a living. But again, I'm going to say it again, I'm not the important guy in the picture. It's our people, for sure. And so that carries forward. I mean, we see it every day at T11 Company. We're not perfect by any means. We all know that. But I hope at the end of the day, everybody's able to look back and say that T11 and Pipeline Utilities cares about our people. So, and I think it shows it. We've got folks that's been at Pipeline for 30 plus years. Same here. So I think over time, that shows itself for the longevity that we have in folks that stay.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way you said that, setting the stage for success for everyone that works here.
Yeah.
That's a great quote.
And we've heard from a lot of our employees in the podcast last month about why they enjoy being a part of TA11 Company and what makes their role important. And many of our other guests have talked about it as well. So it is definitely a theme that is consistent in communications. So you talked a few minutes ago about your journey to this point. Considering that and all of the other details of the process, what's a standout moment of your career?
I'd say probably two of them. I mean, RDU Airport is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. I've done a lot of work out there, and we're out there actually this week doing some more work for them. Lately, it's been smaller work, but it's, I guess you show your gray hairs when you go back to a place and work on something that you put in almost 20 years ago. Was digging through photographs to try to help them figure out exactly where one of their utilities was at this morning before we start digging in an area, because their records are not great. Luckily, we've still got some photos from back then. RDU will always remain a good client of ours. The folks have changed. That's another sign of getting some gray hairs as well, is the folks that you work with change. But I think a key strategy to that is keep yourself in front of the new owners or owners reps so that they know that you can bring some type of value to them that they can't provide to themselves.
Yeah.
Does that
How do
make
you
sense?
convey the relationship?
Yes.
For sure is
Yes.
important.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big part of our company,
Yeah.
and we focus on that a lot. But as you are transitioning leadership in different for the different owners we work for, it has to be a primary focus.
It is, for sure.
Looking ahead, what does the next 100 years look like for Pipeline and TA Loving Company?
I knew that was going to be one of the questions, and probably one of the tougher ones. It goes back to what your employees are telling their families about where they work. And I mean, I think right now we can see the longevity of a lot of the folks that are here. As long as we keep it a place where honest days work, you get an honest day's pay, and they're treated fairly, and we recognize that the people that are actually out there in the field, whether they're swinging a hammer or digging a ditch or shoveling out the base to put a sewer line in at grade, they're the ones that keep this company going for all of us, and that they're able to go home and tell their family that I work for a good company. So if we keep that mentality, and it's written in this room right there, that if we go by those core values, then they will do that. They'll tell their friends, they'll tell their family that, and we don't have to worry about the 100 years. If we keep that in our forefront.
That'll stand the test of time.
Yes, it will.
When it comes to our people, you and I have had a lot of conversations, and we always try to figure out how do we do the right thing based on the situation and based on the people. And so we really work to problem solve and find a solution that's going to give us the best outcome, which is probably not the easiest answer and not the fastest answer, but we do get there and have a good outcome on the other side of it.
And I think, Krista, you'll know that we reach out to you to try to figure out what's the right answer, and then we have to apply the people factor to that. Okay, here's the particular situation for that employee, because we're always looking out for our people.
Yeah, we do spend quite a bit of time of talking about what are all the options and what's the best option given these specific circumstances, for sure. I want to switch gears to operational excellence, which is our mission. How do you see that evolving for Pipeline Utilities that we affectionately refer to PUI?
I think it's back to what I said. I mean, it's right now we're in a good market. But as long as we do what we say that we're going to do, we'll always have those opportunities. Times are good now. Times may not be as good in the future. So we've got to be kind of checking ourselves and say, hey, how can we do this better, quicker? Always keeping safety in mind. I don't care how fast we do something. I want everyone to go home at night, and I know we all do. But it ties back to being able to have that conversation with their family that I mentioned earlier at night, and saying how much our company cares about its people, about our training, to make sure that we make them aware of what those issues, safety issues or efficiency issues may be, and having the conversations with the people to make them understand. And again, it goes back to the core values as a whole. If we keep those in the forefront, then the 100 years will take care of itself for sure.
Pipeline has a reputation for tackling logistically challenging projects. How do you envision this business unit positioning TA Loving Company for future success?
Ty, you know me well enough to know that I'm the one that's going to try to chase the more logistically challenging projects. We have to balance that with what the market's availability is. As you know, in the Raleigh area, the competition is tough right in that area. The state still has not really I don't know that we'll ever go back to the early 2000s when there was a lot of money being shoved into the university systems, but the need is there because in 2000s they put a lot of utilities in. They probably ignored a lot of utilities. So there's always infrastructure upgrades on hospital campuses and university campuses that are going to be almost an emergency. That's the kind of work that gets my blood flowing. Don't get me wrong. I like doing projects that are successful and can make good money, but my guys will cringe when I say this. Anybody can run a water line down the side of a road. I enjoy having to put our thinking cap on and seeing some of the pictures from like Manning Drive that Pipeline did before we even got there, looking at the shoring that we had to put in, the logistics around the emergency room center, the steam tunnel project, for example. Man, that's fun. Really thinking about how it affects the environment as a whole, all the people you got to think about, the pedestrian access, the homeowners access. This homeowner is going to be mad because we're making too much noise at 7 o'clock in the morning. How do we deal with that and get out ahead of it? So as long as I'm here, we're going to keep pursuing those types of projects because that's the type of work that I really enjoy.
You know, you touched on it, but how to be creative in what we do, how to maintain and keep the systems functioning while we're working is a lot of what we do. It's a large part of a large part of our planning and making the projects be successful. So I think that's something we're really good at, like you said, because the hospital can't be down.
Yeah.
The water plant can't shut down. The school can't function if it doesn't have certain services available to it. So I think your point is very, very good in that we have to be creative in ensuring those systems are on.
And it's, we're doing some work in Fayetteville now, and we know we're struggling with getting the locates from multiple utility owners. If it's on a hospital campus and you hit an oxygen line or you take down the chill water, you don't think that the chill water can affect the hospital, but man, that's people's lives. So you have to know where it's at. And looking at some of our photos today of it at the airport and the shoring we had to put in to get across John Brantley Boulevard, man, that gets my blood flowing thinking about, you got to think outside the box for sure.
Agreed.
To get that
Good way
type
to
of
say
work
it.
put in. Yep.
Yeah, you definitely want to be challenged. And as you mentioned earlier, you want a project that's challenging, but also you want to set the people up in the field for a project that's a good project for
That's
them.
right.
So it's an interesting balance.
Yeah. You don't want to put a brand new guy that's got the green sticker on his hard hat at the hospital campus until you vetted him out a little bit, for sure. So, and we still got like Dexter Snipes. He's been with us from a laborer up to a superintendent, and we'll put him on a technical job at the university, and he'll say, "Man, I'm ready to get off of this." And then he's off of it for 6 months. He was like, "Man, get us another job out there. I want to go back to that." So it's good to see a guy that's come from a laborer that's moved into a superintendent position that really loves that type of work as well.
Yeah.
And it can get flustered. You can get flustered in that type of environment, but you end up seeking it,
Yeah.
So pursuing this idea a little further, what sets PUI apart in the industry, and how do you see those strengths evolving in the future?
So how do I say this? We've got such a solid team at Pipeline. Nobody's perfect at all, but I know that our key employees, the superintendents, the foremans, the project manager, and myself care. We're to a point that I've told Ty that the team is so well-rounded and together. Sometimes I feel like, okay, what do I need to do next to help this team? And we're working through that. And that's exciting in itself. But it boils down to trust. The three superintendents that we have now, I trust every one of them. All three of them have got a different skill set. We've got to work with them to balance that skill set out. but knowing that you can trust your key players out in the field means a lot. So that kind of ties into your question, but it boils down to our people. And being in a bad team, if you've got a sour team, it's not fun. And right now we're having fun. I mean, it's work. There's issues every day, but it's fun. And that excites me to come back to work every single day. And it circles back to the teamwork side to make, again, a team can be heading in the wrong direction if you got the wrong people in the team, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, while you were talking about that, I thought about the teamwork. That was obvious, but when you get your team functioning at a high level, it helps in the whole conversation about operational excellence.
It does.
We talked a lot about that, and that's where you see that improvement is when you've got the team functioning. Now we can go from good to great.
That's right. Yeah.
We touched on this a couple of minutes ago, but what other opportunities do you see in the hospitals, the airports, and higher education that could expand our footprint?
I'll start with higher education first. And we touched on a little bit before, but there's a lot of systems that are underground on the university campuses that nobody knows is there, but we are all aware that they're aging. We're doing work with the steam plant at UNC Chapel Hill right now, just small odds and end jobs, and they're basically Band-Aids. As we know, the state budget has been of concern the last few years, but that work is coming back. It's got to come back because those campuses have to continue running. A lot of the hospital work, that we've done has been tied to the university campuses, especially at UNC Chapel Hill. Same thing. The good news is we've touched lines on those hospital campuses and taken those lines out and put new systems in, including stuff that we're working on with Bloom at T11 at the UNC Chapel Hill back behind on Emergency Drive as well. Again, it boils back to that's the type of work that really gets me excited. We have some operational challenges ahead of us to get back to being able to get into that work. But the good news is we've got players that knows how to work in those environments, and we're keeping our finger on the pulse.
What kinds of opportunities do you think pipeline utilities will create for young professionals entering the construction field in the decades ahead?
Ty, we've said it before. If a young person today is willing to work with their hands and understand that if they come to work every day and try to learn, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'd rather you worry me to death with a bunch of questions than sit back and wonder. You don't need an education. Like, the future of this nation, in my opinion, has changed in the last 20 years. It is, in another 20 years, the people that will actually are willing to work are going to be the ones that are really making the money in this country. So what better place than T11 and Pipeline Utilities to have the multitude of opportunities? Our intern program is amazing. I mean, and we tell them, like, we get them all in this room, and there's 20 of us in this room scaring these young kids to death, but look at the opportunity that they have, because they can go the building route, they can go plant route, they can go conveyance route, pipeline utilities route. Man, if I was sitting in that chair and had that opportunity, this is where I'd come, because I can figure out what I want to do. When I got out of college, I didn't know what an RFI was, and to be able to get hands-on experience, even though we're starting them in the field, they kind of cringe at that. They think that I want to be a project manager from day one. Man, if you don't get your hands dirty, you don't know what you're managing, period.
Yeah.
But we've got one particular guy that's a laborer that I've known for a long time that is really a good mentor in the field. And as soon as he runs into a new hire that he's like, this kid will work, he calls me and tells me, because it's so few and far between. But it makes me feel so good when we get a young guy in and see that opportunity. It makes me feel even better to show them the path that, say, Dexter Snipes has taken from laborer to superintendent, and they can see the path. You can tell somebody, hey, if you stick it out, this is where you can be, but be able to show them a Dexter Snipes that has gone from laborer running around wild kid into growing into a superintendent that's still growing today, man, they can see it and talk to him and ask how he got there.
Yeah, you show them the example instead
Yeah.
of just tell them
That's
about
right.
it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's good. It really is an industry, and this company, the opportunity that we provide is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And all the many examples we've got. You mentioned one, but
Yeah.
we've got a multitude. So
That's true.
great to hear that.
Mason, you've told us a lot about the next 100 years. So if you could distill that down into one sentence about your vision for PUI and TA Loving Company in the next 100 years, what's that sentence?
Be aware of our core values and live by that every day, and success will come for all of us.
What else comes to mind that you want us to know about the future?
The grass may seem greener on the other side to a lot of folks sometimes, but a lot of times if you just sit back and look at the environment that you're in and really take pause to not only the teams that you're working with, but that you're working for a company that combined between the two, between Pipeline Utilities as standalone that's been in business since 1981, 44 years, to the 100-year anniversary for TA Loving Company as a whole. Where else could you work for a place that's got 144 years combined experience?
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to kind of pay homage to Johnny and David, Johnny Blankenship and David Moser. They started this together. Well, Johnny's dad, John Blankenship, started this company in 1978. He transitioned it to Pipeline Utilities in 81. And David Moser came on board in 1983. They owed like $5,000. David had a brand new baby at the house and a wife that was scared to death. And it was Johnny as pipe layer, David as the operator, and 2 laborers. And nowhere near the 100-year history of TA Loving, but for them to take that risk and care about their people and keep a company together, 2 totally different people for sure, but they complemented each other. That has built the opportunity for so many people over the years to be combined with a company that's been in business 100 years. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. That's a neat story.
Yeah.
And just that story goes back to the aspect of teamwork that we talked about before. We can do a lot of things alone, but we are pretty one-dimensional. We have our own set of strengths and our own set of opportunities. So we really do need to link up with at least one other person who has a completely different set of strengths and opportunities. And you just give us a good example of that.
They're 2 totally different guys, for sure. And that complemented them over the years. I told them I was doing this and told them I wanted to kind of tie that into this discussion. So I appreciate what they did. I appreciate the company that they built. And I thank Ty for listening to me, bugging him for a while to try to make sure we worked this out. And it was tough, but I'm glad we're here.
Yep, I agree. Well, Mason, it's been a great conversation. You know, we talk a lot about relationships all the time, building relationships and how they last. And your story is a perfect example of a relationship long 20 years ago and how it comes full circle.
Yeah.
And but anyway, thank you for everything, and appreciate your time today.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for telling us the history within the history.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mason.
Jason, you've been with us on a past podcast. Thank you for coming back for a second go.
Happy to be here.
Jason, you're currently the president of our conveyance systems. I know you told us this last time, but tell us again about your journey to this role.
My journey to this role started 12 years ago. I remember you interviewed me with our old HR department, and I came on as a project engineer working on some larger projects in the Wilmington area. From there, I moved on to a project manager still in the Wilmington area, eventually regional ops manager, and so on and so forth until president. So it's all worked out pretty well for me.
So over that time, I'm sure you've had a lot of projects and a lot of other moments that stand out to you in your career. Can you pick one and tell us a little bit about it?
Standout projects, probably my first couple that were extremely difficult. Like on the last podcast I said with Bill Bissett, we were teamed up together and they were difficult jobs, learned a lot of lessons there, but those lessons have stuck with me till today.
Can you tell us a little bit about those lessons that you've taken forward?
Sure. I know that the struggles on the job I can remember like vividly. I know where every leak was, where every bolt was missed. I could go around Wilmington and pick them all out. So I just take that and try to apply those lessons learned when teaching other folks, what not to do, so they don't make the same mistakes that I did.
I'm also hearing the focus on details, right? Because those little parts and pieces can easily be overlooked and also create significant challenges.
Very significant challenges that are very hard to find. So when you're on 10 miles of pipe and you need to find one bolt, that could be tough.
Needle in the haystack.
There you go.
Jason, this year we've been able to celebrate our past. Looking forward, what's the next 100 years mean to you?
Well, number one, I'm excited. I'll say that. I think there's a lot of potential for innovations in what we're doing, or some new processes that we can put in place. But I don't want to forget our past either, because again, lessons learned are going to be crucial into our success in the future.
Absolutely.
Are there any of those innovations you want to talk about?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing now. I mean, we've been putting pipe in the ground, and everyone's been putting their infrastructure as far as fiber or cables or anything that's in the ground. So we compete against that every single day. And it's only getting worse, meaning it's more difficult to dig and place our product in the ground as compared to 10, 20 years ago. So right now we're investing a lot of time and effort into scanning and understanding what's in the ground, well beyond what just a normal locate ticket would show you.
So our mission is operational excellence, and I'm wondering what your perspective is on operational excellence in the coming 100 years. What does that look like to you?
I mean, for me, the operational excellence is a efficiency mindset. So every move that we make needs to be planned, calculated, so we know exactly what it means to do what we're doing, and the repercussions of making the right and wrong steps.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you just want to go out and do it and not take the time to plan it. And then that you actually end up moving slower and creating more challenges, which results in rework. And it's amazing how a few minutes of planning can actually get you to the finish line a whole lot faster and more effectively.
Well said.
The Conveyance Systems business unit has been serving communities for many years. What do you see as the biggest opportunities for innovation in pipe, sewer, and water systems in the coming decades?
Well, I think you've seen a lot of innovation in just the materials that we use. A lot of the infrastructure that we're replacing could be clay pipe, could be asbestos material pipe, it could be a number of different things. So in the materials that we're using, they go together well. We have less chance of leaks, and they last for a long time. So I think that's a big part of it. The equipment that we use, is so much more advanced than it was even 10 years ago. So it makes things efficient if you have a well-laid plan.
For sure.
As populations grow and cities expand in our area, how will TA Loving Company's pipeline work evolve to meet those future infrastructure needs?
Again, with the expansion of areas and the uptick in population in certain areas, it's not always the most efficient way to install the pipes, not just digging and putting a new pipe in place. So in many cases, we can go in and reline different water sewer lines that are existing. We can pipe burst, pull another pipe through. So I think that can work well with a highly populated area or a population that's increasing in a certain area. You have less impact on the public. As for areas that are more remote, I mean, we're still really focused in those type of areas, and our systems in place are handling that.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk emerging technologies. So, whether it's a new technology or an improving of a technology, what do you see coming and how do you think it will influence your work?
I mean, we're investing in technology every day. We have a lot of things in place. Like I said, the GPR scanning, the GPS locating of the lines that we're finding, the vac trucks that we're using, all that is newer technology. And I'll say newer in the application that we're using it in. It's probably been around, but it's not being used the way that we're using it, or hasn't historically been used that way. Even the GPS on the excavators at this point, you can use that to as-built your jobs as you're going. I mean, it's a time thing, it's efficiency. So there's a lot of neat things out there.
So, for the people who aren't familiar with GPR or the VAC system, can you talk a little bit about how you're using that?
Sure. So GPR is ground penetrating radar. So essentially, it sends radar waves down into the ground, and when it hits something, it reflects back and shows us a signal. So if it's hitting something, we know something is either potentially in conflict, or we at least know it's there before we start digging a hole. Once we see that signal on the GPR scanner, we will then vac down to it. So you're basically using a vacuum system on a truck to soft dig and expose that whatever the GPR bounced off of. At that point, we take a GPS unit and we mark the location of that unit, and we can label it if we know what it is once it's found. And then basically export a file, provide all of that to the operator in the excavator, so he knows what to expect as he's digging. We're not digging blind anymore.
So it really supports your planning process.
Absolutely.
Better to plan and know what's there and work around it than to deal with a cut line situation.
There you go. And that's I mean, it plays out on the public too, because they're going to want their power on, and or their water, sewer, internet. We're not here to knock out anybody's anything. So we want to be cut free.
If you really want to upset people, cut out their internet.
Yeah, that'll do it every time.
I think we even handle sometimes water and maybe even power better, but when our internet is out, we feel like we are just completely
Your
shut
home
down.
runs off of it at this point. The fridge needs it to tell you what temperature it is in there.
Right.
It needs everything. So,
Jason, talk about safety and quality control, and how important that is to our operational, from an operations perspective.
sure. So, I mean, what we frequently say: safety, quality, production. So we want everyone to go home just like they came to work that day. So that's number one. Quality, we need the product to go in place as it's supposed to, so it serves the purpose it's supposed to the first time, because it's not good for anyone, for us, for the owner, for the residents, for us to go in for a second time to do the same job. And then production wise, really, I mean, that's how we're judging how the day went in most cases, right? We got to get an X amount of footage or X amount of manholes installed or whatever per day, in order to track our success for the day, the week, for the month, for the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you talk about that on a regular basis at the crew level? What from everything that you've mentioned, safety, quality, productivity, how's the crew involved? What's their input, and what are they empowered to do?
So every member of the crew could stop work for any reason. If they see something that's wrong, they speak up and they let everyone else know. And we will shut the operation down until we correct it, to make sure that it's safe for everyone to enter the hole or to work around the area that we're working in. So we do extensive safety training with all of our crews, so they know what's right, what's wrong, what to look for, and when to call it out. As far as quality is concerned, we do have some extra steps in place to ensure that what's going in the ground is of the quality that's necessary. For instance, we do some ultrasonic testing. Every jointed pipe that goes in the ground, we use an ultrasonic tester on that jointed pipe to ensure a gasket hasn't been rolled or pinched, or there's dirt in there, causing the seal not to take like it's supposed to. Again, get it right the first time and to make sure it's good. And as far as production-wise, we work on 2-week look-aheads every single week with the crews and all the field management so that everyone's clear on what the expectations are for that day, for that week, and 2 weeks out. There's certainly total project schedule reviews, but those are probably more on a monthly basis rather than a weekly meeting and then everyday tracking. So it's more of a 2 week look ahead with those guys.
Yeah.
You just talked about 2 week look aheads. In the last episode, Everyone is Critical, Selena Crabtree was here, and she was talking to us about how important the daily huddles are for the crew and for communication. And so it was great to see that communication that's happening on more of a strategic level in the manager levels is going down and being filtered out, so everyone has a clear understanding of what we're working on and what are the challenges associated with it.
Yeah, if the crews don't understand what the task is for that day, no one's going to be successful. So everyone needs to understand what's the point that we've done good or we've done bad or we're somewhere in the middle. So we try to set very clear expectations with everyone. So we are judging off the same book and we're successful.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, your water and your sewer. We talked about the internet or the cable getting cut, but from a water perspective or your sewer system reliability, what we do, what we provide to the owners we work for to maintain that reliability.
Well, again, I mean, there's a lot of effort put into the quality product that we put in, right? So we're doing all this testing while we're putting in the product. At the very end, once everything is installed, we do another round of testing to ensure that it is up to the standards, pressure testing wise or hydrostatic testing, that would meet the specs to turn over to the owner. Because I mean, the life expectancy on some of these projects be 50 to 100 years. So I mean, no one should be back there for a long, long time. Looking at that pipeline.
And then maybe an example of where a municipality or a water system called us to go repair something that's happened. I know we get those calls quite often.
Yeah, we do get those calls. I mean, so a lot of the infrastructure in the areas that we work in are in need of upgrades, right? They're at the end of their life cycle because of the material used, because of the length of time, it's been in the ground. And we will get those calls that, hey, there's, a force main that's blown out or a water line that's blown out. And we can accommodate those phone calls pretty much any time. I mean, we have crews on standby, essentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when we get the calls, we're ready to go pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I want to fast forward, but we won't quite fast forward 100 years. Let's fast forward 25 years. So it's 2050. What's happening? What did we achieve over 25 years? What do things look like now?
I don't know if we're flying around in cars yet, but you never know.
Specific to conveyance systems.
I got you. I don't know. Again, I hope that we can carry on the legacy that has been in place for the last 100 years. I mean, that's a focus. I mean, yes, we want to evolve and we want to change with the times as long as it's a good thing. But again, if we can keep the main safety, quality, production at the forefront, we will represent this company the way it has been for the last 100 years. And for the next 25 to 100 years, we will maintain that reputation that we have now.
Yeah, and I think that is so well said, plus the fact that the opportunity we're providing for everyone that comes here and is here now. Yeah. I think that's another great point. What else do you want people to know about the future of conveyance systems?
Well, I mean, we're growing, we've got a lot of opportunities here. We have a business plan in place that works. It's proven. We don't really steer too far away from it, because, if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But we're growing and we're excited for the future.
Yeah, I think to that, we would maybe just clarify that you've got a plan that's working, so you're continuing to work it and looking at other ways to add to the services that you can provide in addition to that.
That is a good point. Yes, there's a number of things. While the plan was working, you're correct that we've added in the VAC services, where there's a number of other things that are on the cusp of happening too. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, when you've got a stable system, then you have the ability to go out and add on and expand. But if you don't have that stable core, expanding becomes extremely challenging.
That's true.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having me.
your everything you've got in place and your vision for the future and how it's all moving forward.
We're super excited and we're happy to be here. We're going to keep it going in the right direction.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Charlie, this is your first time joining us on the podcast. Welcome.
Glad to be here with you, Krista. It's nice to see you, Ty.
Charlie, you are currently the president of Civil Infrastructure. Tell us a little bit about your journey to this role.
Building a farm with your brothers and cousins is building a project every day, all day type thing. And, you grow up. So through that, I discovered early on that I had a passion for building. But, as I've grown, it's not just passion for building pump stations or projects or interchanges or bridges or what have you. It's really that passion of building a team, building relationships, building, a reputation. And, projects can be defined as anything you want. It can be that person, it can be that pump station or anything in between. So really that's where it started. But professionally, look, I've been doing this for 25 years or so. I started as a field engineer, layout, quality control, really the front line, if you want to think about that. Over the years, really, I've had the opportunity to work with some astounding people, and some of the best of which are at TA Loving that I'm currently working with. And to be straight with you, what drew me to TA Loving was, the deep dedication, the history, the roots, safety, quality, and production kind of string through everything we've done here. I'm proud to serve as this business unit leader and look forward to the future.
Charlie, what's a standout moment from your career?
So early on, when I first came to North Carolina, I was asked to lead the Western Wake project, which was about an 18 million gallon wastewater treatment plant over in New Hill. It was a long-term 4-year project, building a team, that relationship, that rapport with an owner. And looking back at it, it was the soup to nuts construction. I was involved in the estimating all the way up to turning over the keys and finishing the punch list with the client. I mean, it was stepping back and seeing something that I'd been involved in that's going to be there for 50 years, serving that community.
Yeah, and the majority of the projects we build are in that kind of that same. We sum them up the same way. They're going to be there for a long, long time, and they're much needed in the communities we serve.
Charlie, thank you for telling us a little bit about your past. We're going to switch gears now for the rest of our conversation into the future. So we're interested to hear from you. What does the next 100 years mean to you at TA Loving Company?
Right. So the next 100 years, it's an interesting prospect to contemplate. So I was up in Chicago last week for WEFTech, looking at some of the technology that will accelerate the water industry in the future. And if you sit there and you look at Chicago, basically Chicago's been built in the last 100 years since the Great Fire that tore basically the entire city down. So as you correlate that back to TA Loving and look at what we've done in 100 years, you think what the next 100 can be. And it's honoring the tradition that has gotten here. That's trust, craftsmanship, service, stewardship, communities we lived in, building upon all of that and embracing the technology that will propel us to the future. It's amazing that, you look 100 years in the past and, the lack of better terms, mascot of TA Loving is the plumb bob. We don't have one running around yet, but that's, I'm sure that'll come up at some point or another. But plumb bob was it. Now we have GPS, we have precision lasers, everything else to make our job easier. But it's rooted in where we've come. And we build communities is really at the end of time. We build the foundation blocks that will accelerate for the next 100 years. So honestly, I'm interested to see it. I don't know if I'll make it.
It's a long time off, and it's a huge prospect to think about how can you plan out the next 100 years and what will that look like? So much of it will change and we don't even have an understanding for what that will be.
Charlie, how do you see TA Loving Company's mission of operational excellence evolving for the civil infrastructure business unit?
Right. So operational excellence is less about controlling and more about culture. Within civil infrastructure and TA Loving as a whole, we continue to evolve and improve upon our core metrics of really safety, quality, and production. So as we look at operational excellence, leveraging the technologies that are coming about now in the industry, whether that's enhanced risk mitigation or predictive analysis and analytics, or, simply the computer programs that are out there to help us keep more organized, all of it stems into that flow of operational excellence. Over the coming years, we will continue to, in civil infrastructure, we'll continue to invest in our people and our technology, really with the focal point of enhancing our operational excellence.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about efficiency and a lot of the things we do getting better and better, and then also training up the next generation to be able to operate that way.
Civil infrastructure is off to a good start with the focus on operational excellence, with the continuous process improvements that you have been working on and that continue to move forward. And so you kind of just function from that perspective of what do we need to do to improve to make things easier so we can be more effective. Civil infrastructure has been essential at TA Loving Company since the very beginning. What do you imagine TA Loving Company's role will be in shaping the future of transportation and water systems?
Right. So TA, and I said this a minute ago, TA Loving is in the business of building the foundation for the next 100 years. And we look at shaping that future. And so we take a look out there and see what's happening overall. And we see mega trends happening, right? We see electrification of transportation systems. We see renewable resources, in particular water in TA Loving's case. We see smart technology. But even beyond that, we see collaboration within communities with alternative delivery and collaborative delivery project methods.
In North Carolina, we do get our fair share of hurricanes, and as that ties over to the types of work we do and making those projects be resilient to the environment, things that happen in this state on a fairly regular basis now. With that, what new practices will TA Loving Company bring to projects like living shorelines or flood protection for a water plant or a wastewater plant?
Right. So when we think about it, resiliency, it's no longer an option for our living conditions, right? It's essential to what we do. Working within our ecosystems as opposed to, in obstruction of our ecosystems is key, right? Embracing the natural world to achieve sustainability is really the tagline there. As we work within our communities, we bring forward as a contractor adaptive design thought process, modeling of different solutions, value engineering, constructability, all of it to offer our communities that best solution for a resilient project, right? The earlier a contractor can get involved in that conversation with our community leaders, the better the outcome will be. So overall, talking with folks and coming up with the best fit, the right fit project is key.
Shifting to project delivery and the methods that we utilize, how do you see that evolving over the next century on these projects?
Right. So over the last decade or so, you've seen the collaborative delivery model eke up through and is actually resulting in about 50% of projects delivered right now through collaborative delivery models, whether that's DBIA or another form. The fact is community leaders desire collaboration, transparency, and open communication to pick the right builder for their project. I don't see that changing. I think that's ingrained in who we are as people. bottom line is a one team model, engineer, owner, contractor, is probably the right model. And TA Loving, with our partners, is on the forefront of this in North Carolina.
Charlie, we've talked a lot about the balance of tradition in the past and innovation in the future. How do you see TA Loving Company balancing that tradition of our past 100 years in conjunction with the innovation or the vision for the next 100 years?
Right. So when we start talking about traditions and innovation, a lot of people start thinking these are at odds, but they're not. They're partners, right? Look, TA Loving's standing on a century of trust, craftsmanship, collaboration, and relationships throughout North Carolina. The balance comes from staying true to our core and who the company is today, while being curious, ambitious, entrepreneur, and courageous in the future, right? We will be a steward to our history and a leader of thought.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about how to balance the two, really identifying the need to focus on the last 100 years and at the same time being aware that we want to stay focused on the next 100 years. And you did a great job of explaining how those two come together.
Charlie, touch on what your vision of TA Loving Company is 100 years from now.
Right. So this is actually really an intriguing one. So 100 years from now, the projects we're building today will last for 50 to 75 years into the future. They continue to serve our communities and grow North Carolina. So it's exciting to think about that. Look, we're already halfway there with what we're building today, right? So we're obviously going to continue to build, continue to invest in our people and our communities. Bottom line is we live here. We're going to grow here and make North Carolina the leader for the next 100 years.
Charlie, you've told us so much already about the future of civil infrastructure. What else do you want people to know about the future of civil infrastructure?
The headline is that it's bright. Civil infrastructure, we build quality of life projects that are the foundation of society.
Mm-hmm.
Without civil infrastructure, and infrastructure is defined as things that, your water plants, your bridges, your highways, your connectivity in life.
All the things that people need that they don't really think that they need.
Yeah, it'll be a bad day if you turn the faucet on and the water doesn't come out.
For sure. I've been there. Not happy about it.
So as we think about civil infrastructure, we're making the faucet work.
Well, Charlie, thanks so much for being with us today. And it's always interesting to hear all the different things going on in the company and the different types of work. And thank you for your focus. Thank you for your commitment and for everything that you're doing for TA Loving Company.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome, Krista.
Steve, thank you for rejoining us. You've been on the podcast before, but for those who didn't have an opportunity to watch that episode, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your relationship to TA Loving Company?
Well, my name's Steve Bryan, and my relationship to the company is my grandfather came to work here 94 years ago. My father followed in his footsteps, and then he retired, in 2015, 2016, when he passed away. He was here till couldn't come in here anymore. So anyway, we've been with the company a long time.
Yeah, I remember you and I having a conversation at one point when we were helping employees prepare for retirement. And you said, well, I don't think I'm going to retire. And I said, oh, yeah. And you said, nobody else in my family has. I'm just going to keep on coming here.
Right. We just can't retire, I guess. Retirement's good. And staying busy is good.
Well, Steve, it's good to hear all the history and how your family's been such a huge part of this company and what it's meant to this company. Tell us about moving forward. What's the commitment from your perspective to TA Loving Company? Just something the employees need to hear.
Well, like I said, we've been majority owners for a long time, and so I don't see that changing. My siblings, who are big shareholders, they don't they don't have, they want to continue to own their shares in TA Loving Company.
Yeah, and I think it's so important what this company means to the many people that have worked here over the years, but for the people that are here now, this has always been a place of opportunity, and the
Right.
great opportunity we provide people when they come to work here to meet their career goals and their life goals, and I
Right,
think we're
right.
partners with them, and I think that's so important, and I think it's really a testament to what you and your family have done over the
Right.
years to provide that kind of place.
Yeah, I mean, working for a stable company is better than working for an unstable company, and we like to think we're pretty stable.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
We've always been in a wonderful position, just from the ownership of TA Loving Company, reinvesting in the company and
Correct.
making it so strong through that.
Right. We've always, reinvested in the company, and there've been tough years, as we talked about the other day, and now we're in good years, and I see them continuing. Like I said, unless the economy nosedives, which we don't control that.
Yeah. We've been talking with all the different business units, and then we've been talking with a lot of our employees, and one our big focus is how everyone's role here is critical. No matter what the position is,
Right.
whether it's a laborer or any position in the company, it's critical to the success of this company. And I think that's so important. And I think from a company perspective, how diversified the company is
Right.
and all the different types of work we do. Maybe talk about your perspective on TA Loving Company being in a position to facilitate the growth that's coming into our
Right.
state.
Yeah, we are well diversified in the types of work we do and the people we have, and we have strong customer service, and we have good employee development, and you got to be adaptable to market changes, and I think we have all that. And I just it's like I said, North Carolina is one of the top states that folks are moving to, and as long as that continues, there's going to be work for us to do, and as long as we maintain our our strong relationships with all our owners and subcontractors, engineers, architects, I see just continuing what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. That whole relationship piece,
Right.
it's a big part of our company. It's what we are and who we are,
Right.
and it's critical that we maintain that with all the different partners.
Right. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it really is.
As one of the owners of TA Loving Company, what do you see as the future of the business?
Well, like I said, I think the future is bright as long as the work continues that we do. We're well diversified, and we have we're adaptable to market changes, and we have good customer service for our clients, and we have a strategic focus. All those kind of things.
We've had a couple of our podcasts have included different levels in the company, and I was going to read a few of the things that have been talked about during some of those sessions. These are folks that are talking about what the company means to them,
Okay.
and I just think it's important to talk about these things and hear them, because they are so critical. A lot of terminology around teamwork and how
Right.
important that is. Respect, being able to understand that we respect everyone, and everyone respects their coworkers. Forward thinking, creativity in our business. It's all about people,
Right.
and we've talked about that. Somebody summarized: we identify, we encourage, and then we empower people, which I
Mhm.
think was really encouraging to hear that. How we communicate, I think that how critical it is, and then how we improve on that as a company. All roles are critical. I know I've said that. We talked a lot about safety. because that's an important part of what we do, obviously. We talked about relationships. We talked about, our coworkers tend to be our friends,
Right.
and that's so critical. And it's somebody said great people, and I agree with that. But it's all that. I mean, and I think it's encouraging when you hear it from a lot of different places in the
Right.
company,
Right.
because we can talk about a lot of things, but
Right.
to hear it coming back from them, I think so important.
Yeah, that is important. Yeah.
It's the consistency of strong leadership. And so, as the owners and also as our leader, as you continue to build off of those core values, it allows us to take that history forward and continue moving forward and innovating with a strong focus on the future while considering what we have in front of us and how we can continue to grow off of that.
Yeah, and Steve, I would just tell you from on behalf of all of our coworkers, the platform we have to work from here is incredible, and to be able to provide that to 450 people every day
Right.
is really a great thing. And then looking backwards at history, how we've provided that over the years,
Right.
and it is a great thing. And just wanted to tell you that's much appreciated.
Yeah, I think we empower people and we don't micromanage, and we hire good people, and we train them, you train them, and that pays off in the long run.
And let them go take care of business for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take care of business.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing we've talked a little bit about in this podcast, but I suspect we'll talk more about as we move to future podcasts, is about that entrepreneurial spirit, is really providing everybody with everything that they need to be able to go out and run their project like it's their business, because they really are running it from that perspective. To your point, we are not micromanaging everything. So we
Right,
need
right.
everyone to have the toolkit, the skills, and the experience to really be able to go out from that perspective.
Well, thank you for being here.
I was glad to be here, and
Thank you for everything you do for the company.
and thank you for everything you do. You all do. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good day to be in construction, to quote you.
That's right.
It's a
It
great
is.
day.
A great day. I should say it that way.
Construction.
And it will continue to be. Like I said, we got the trends are still market strong. And like I said, people moving to North Carolina. We're going to need more sewer plants. We're going to need more vertical stuff. We're going to need more everything.
All the things we do.
Right.
You're right.
So thank you, Steve, for
Okay.
the quiet support of the ownership cheering us on in the background.
Okay. You're quite welcome.
And we really hadn't planned on interviewing you, but as we went through the other interviews, it seemed like we would be remiss if we did not get your perspective on the future. So thank you for agreeing to be on the other side of the table.
All right.
So as you think about the next 25, 50, 75, 100 years, what are the short and midterm goals that are going to set the foundation for TA Loving Company's future success?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way I look at it is we're building the next 100 years. That's what our theme is for the next year, and that's kind of what the path we're taking. I look at the shorter term. I think it's important for us to focus on the next generation of leaders. The folks that are in the company right now that we're training, and we want them to know the TA Loving way. And we're doing that a lot of different ways right now. I mean, we're relying on our more senior leaders to pass that along, but we've got a couple of different campaigns we're working on. It's what I call our Raise Awareness campaign. So it's where we teach people how to take care of business our way. It's based on our core values. We want them to be knowledgeable in areas like safety and quality, and on the accounting side of things, how to build relationships and how important that is. But it's really setting the foundation for them at an early point in their career, so they will carry that forward into the future. And then as we look further out, my primary goal is for this company to always provide opportunity. And I think that's so critical to our success to date, and it will continue to make us successful. is if we provide that to each and every employee here. And I think it's so important. Every person in this company is critical to its success. We talk about teamwork a lot, and it takes a team to be successful. And we've got to ensure that we're always providing that opportunity. The owners of TA Love and Company have always been very generous and very good about reinvesting in the company. And I think that's so important as we look forward and we start building the next 100 years.
It's so interesting that you specifically acknowledge the two components. So the training and education piece, which we do a really good job of coaching one-on-one on the job training, and then also building those formalized opportunities. And then the capacity to create opportunity for people. And while they are two separate steps, they really do go hand in hand. It's hard to create the opportunity for someone who's not prepared to step into that. So I really love that you separated them out and that we can also see how one leads into the other. We just talked a little bit about midterm leading into longer term future success. What's your long-term vision for TA Love and Company, and how do you plan for it to evolve over the next 100 years?
Well, it's always going to be focused on being a provider of the services we provide to everyone in our region. So we want to be the preferred choice, the preferred contractor. We want to, again, always be able to provide opportunity. So a lot of the things we work on will be directed at that. We want to promote an entrepreneurial atmosphere and really promote that as to our next generation of leaders. That's always been so important, and I think it's so critical to the long-term success. And I think when you're looking at the next 100 years, TA Love and Company over the past 100 years has had to adapt to different market conditions and to different opportunities that came along. And I think we want to be building that as we look forward too, because things won't be like they are today. And we've got to have the skill set that can adapt to the changes that come in the market. We'll always want to be a company that recognizes the commitment and the dedication of our employees, and we've done a great job of that, I think, this year in celebrating our 100-year anniversary. But that will continue. I think our ability to continue to build relationships and to facilitate the growth and in our area, I think that's our future. And we'll be in a strong position to do that.
I think you really just encapsulated everything that we've talked about in all of our preceding podcasts in that answer. So it's another great opportunity to see, and I think Charlie talked about this, how the traditions and the way we've done business of the past will carry us into how we continue to innovate based on that foundation in the future.
Yeah.
I also you talked about the entrepreneurial spirit, and Mason talked about having trust. Those two really do go hand in hand because we are expecting everybody to be out there basically managing their own small company. And so we have to trust that they understand how we do business, going back to that training and education, and that we're communicating things, utilizing our resources to the best of our abilities. And then you also talked about adapting. One of the most important skills of a leader is the ability to pivot. You can't just pivot for fun because you're bored. And at the same time, when you have a plan and things are changing, the terrain is changing, you've got to figure out how to adjust. How do you pivot and work in that new terrain in order to ensure long-term success? Ty, in what ways is TA Love and Company leveraging technology to stay ahead in the construction industry? And what innovations do you foresee coming in the next century?
There's a lot of activity from a technology perspective. I think you think about AI and all the capabilities that brings, and you think about in different parts of our business, whether it's VDC on our vertical side, the virtual design and how that works, the ground penetrating radar, how we determine what's underground before we start digging. And there's new technology coming along all the time. There's different robotics. The thing that won't change in our business is we're still going to be a business where someone's got to show up and do hard things on a job site every day. And I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity in that, even though it from a technology perspective, that it's not going to be impacted. I think, how we move information, that's going to continue to increase that capability, and the speed at which things move around will continue to improve. But I think where I see the technology really helping us is probably more in the efficiency and how we become more and more efficient at what we do. How we know that every piece of equipment that we own is operating at a high efficiency rate. Same thing with the production and how that impacts our ability to put work in place. That all of that will continue to improve as technology improves.
Mm-hmm. So we just talked about technology a little while ago. We talked about pivoting. How do you plan to adapt to the rapidly changing landscape of construction, particularly when it comes to concerning materials, techniques, and regulations?
Well, I think we rely on a lot of our partners in the business, our vendors that help us with that, keeping us on the forefront of different changes in materials or whatever the case may be. I think we rely on different associations we're a part of, like Carolina's AGC or NUCA or AGC of America, to really facilitate and help us stay where we need to be from that perspective. A lot of the technology side, which we just touched on, is going to change. There's still going to be the part that people show up at a job site. So, it's kind of, there's different factors that go into all that. I would say it's probably going to be, where we're going to see more efficiency, more how we know we're being efficient from our labor force wearing some kind of technology that can really show us what they are, where they are, what they're doing, and how efficient they are at what they are doing. Same thing with equipment, same kind of information coming back on that.
Yeah, we also have been doing a really good job of planning. So when regulations change, like the 811 locate regulations have changed.
Yeah, good point. There will always be regulations and things that we have to do, but being prepared, and I think being educated and doing a really good job of keeping all the professionals here at TA Loving Company educated on what's happening in the market.
Yeah, and it really is a focus of everybody to know, like you just said, the education piece, to know, understand, build a plan, and then execute it effectively. What are your future plans for how TA Loving Company will contribute to the communities in which we work in the future?
Well, over the last couple of years, we've formalized what we do for communities. We've been working on our foundation to make that be a better tool for us and to help with the community work we do. I think that's probably the biggest thing we've been working on from that perspective. Just our ability to be able to react to the needs that are a more and more common occurrence.
The TA Loving Foundation has done a remarkable job, particularly this year, of outreach and support to the communities in which we live and work.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we expect to hear plans in the coming years for market expansion, either geographically or into new service areas? And if so, what are the factors that might drive your decisions?
Well, we touched on this a couple of minutes ago, but we've always been a company that reacted when we had to react to different markets that were available. So we're fortunate at this point in time. The area we work in is probably growing more than anywhere in the country. So all the different types of work we do we're in a wonderful place to facilitate that growth. And all the jobs we do are what I consider to be infrastructure, whether it's a new hospital, a new school, a new athletic facility, a new water plant, a new sewer line, or a bridge. They're needed. And with all the growth that's come to this area, we're just in a wonderful place from a company perspective and being able to facilitate that. Are we going to explore other markets? We will if the opportunity's there. And I think I always look at those type of moves as if it's the right move for the right people that we have. Mm-hmm. So if we have someone that's interested in maybe looking at a different type of work or pursuing a different market or a different region, it would always be focused. That would be the driver. Mm-hmm. It would be something that one of our folks identified and then wanted to pursue. Kind of gets back to that whole entrepreneurial piece.
Yeah, it's the entrepreneurial spirit as well as we are people business. We build things, we build resources that people need. But as you said, when we talked about technology, it will still always be about the people. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about challenges or obstacles that might be coming. What are the biggest challenges that you anticipate TA Loving Company facing over the next 100 years, and how do you plan to address them?
Well, I touched on this earlier. I think our biggest, it's not an issue or a problem. It's something that we always need to be working on, and that's growing our next generation of leaders in this company. And I think that's a primary focus. I touched on some of the programs that we've got in place to deal with that, our Raise Awareness program, the education opportunities that we're offering, career development, and working with an individual to determine where they want to go in this company, mm-hmm. and then how we get them there. And I think that's probably one of our strengths is I think we are really good at doing that. And we want to always be there as a resource to help an individual, no matter where they are in the company. We can take them from a labor position, mm-hmm. right on up. And that's what we're here for. And we want them to be great. And we want their role, we want them to find joy in what they do and then be fulfilled with the role they're in and the path they're on.
So many of our guests, maybe all of our guests, talked about their journey up, starting at labor or field engineer and then working their way up. And we talked about the intern program and how we really focus on that hands-on aspect of the intern program because it really, you can't recreate it. If you are missing out on that experience, it makes things more challenging as you move up and have to look at a more strategic perspective.
That's right.
Well, let's flip it a little more internally on you and your philosophy. How does your personal leadership philosophy influence the company strategy and its approach to long-term planning?
That's a really good question. I think our ability to clearly understand what our owners' needs are is something we've always got to be focused on. And I think our ability to look out beyond the horizon and see what the needs will be, and then be able to adapt to those future markets, I think that's going to be something that I focus on. That is something that I focus on a regular basis. It's understanding our workforce needs too, mm-hmm. and really providing the platform for everyone here to be successful. And I think that's what motivates me. That's what I plan for. So it's providing a resource for the folks we work for on a regular basis or every day, and then the folks that work for us. So it's really focused on those two groups, really.
Let's continue to talk about you. As the CEO, what legacy do you hope to leave behind in the coming years?
I think that's a challenging question. I mean, it's I think you've picked up. I'm very focused on making people be successful here, and I think that's what I want. I want everyone here to have that opportunity. That was what was always provided to me. The construction business, it's a difficult business, but it's so full of opportunity. I've always found so much enjoyment in what I do. I read a quote recently from Theodore Roosevelt, and I think it's so important. The quote is, "Far and away, the prize life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." And I think the work that we do every day is truly work worth doing, because you think about, we touched on it earlier and through all the podcasts, everyone counts on the systems we put in place. They count on the school they go to. They count on the hospital they have to go to occasionally. They count on the water system, the highway system they're traveling on. And I think that's so important that we do focus on the fact that the work we do is much needed, and it is worth what we do every day.
Yeah, it's hard work, and without it, our survival would be in question.
Yeah, you're right. I always refer to that as essential or quality of life projects. So, and that's another way to say that. We rely on it.
We do. I mentioned earlier, and you just talked about your drive or your focus is on everybody having the opportunities that they're interested in taking. And I mentioned that you are a goal-oriented growth mindset person. So when you think about goal setting and vision for the company, what inspires you most about the future?
Well, just there's the opportunity that's out there. And I focus a lot on we need controlled growth. We've got to be ready. So when the situation presents itself, we're ready to take advantage of it. But we do need to have a plan. We do need to be structured. And I think we're in a really good place from that perspective within the company. We've always done a good job. We've always been conservative with how we handle our money, to how we look at projects, to whatever the case may be. So I think that serves us well as a company. Served us well for 100 years, and that will continue to serve us well.
We have talked with business unit leaders about the importance that you just said of how do you continue the day-to-day work now while planning and taking action on what you want to happen a year from now. And so it's that delicate balance of being present focused as well as future focused, and not allowing either one of them to take up too much time or attention.
That's true.
If there was one goal that TA Loving Company could achieve under your leadership, what would that be, and what impact would it have?
I think the one thing I would tell you is I want everyone here to know they're critical. They are a critical part of this team. It takes 450 people to make TA Loving Company be successful every day. And that number will change, but no matter what that number is, everyone will be critical. And I just think that's the main message I want everyone to know. And roles can change. We want roles to change for people. But every role along that person or individual's progression is critical to them and to this company.
how your focus on people and their growth and their opportunity and their development is definitely your legacy, and it speaks loudly. So thank you for coming on and talking about that today.
Thank you.